It's hard to, I keep getting struck. It's hard for me to imagine all day. We have more. Like, really, there's so much more. And we do have another speaker. Okay. So our next speaker is George K.L. Smith. George K.L. Smith is a leading expert in reducing recidivism, leveraging over a decade of professional and lived experience to foster community safety. As director of reentry and violence prevention, he rose from an entry-level counselor to his current leadership role, managing over $3 million in grant funding and creating pioneering programs like the Academy of Hope for returning citizens. He's also the founder and CEO of G.R.O.W. LLC, through which he mentors youth in the Bay Area juvenile facilities. George's work is profoundly shaped by his own transformation. Sentenced to life in prison at 17, he created and led a revolutionary violence interruption program while incarcerated that successfully united rival groups. The program's unprecedented success, noted in court documents, proved instrumental in earning his freedom. Today, his influence spans multiple platforms. He teaches his co-authored gang intervention curriculum, which is called I Once Was, Now I Am. That's inside the California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation prisons and reaches a national audience as the host of the podcast Inside Out with George K.L. Smith. That airs on over 1.4 million tablets in correctional facilities. His show brings a message of hope and transformation to the incarcerated people and their families. A certified life coach, drug and alcohol counselor, and conflict resolution specialist, George K.L. Smith is redefining what is possible for returning citizens, proving that those closest to the problem are essential to its solution. And again, if you want to have questions and want to be able to ask them on the panel, send those to hashtag M Antonia Hieronymus, and you'll have an opportunity to interact with George on the panel as well. George is going to talk to us. He called this talk today the capacity to maintain, the capacity to maintain change, a brief overview of reentry from any space. Would you please welcome George K.L. Smith? George, thank you so much for joining us.
Man, thank you so much for having me.
Mhm.
Man, all that stuff just made me feel really nervous for some weird reason. It's like, man, it's nothing. Like when we look at these titles and we look at these things that we've accomplished for myself personally, man, like I don't even care. You know, like there's so much work to do. There's so many folks that um that need us. You know what I mean? Like we need folks like Candace and the sisters that just spoke. I said I was gonna try to pronounce this. Salamasina, right? That spoke to these different things. So I just want to go like this. My name is George K.L. Smith. I work for a company called Options Recovery Services, where I'm a director of reentry and violence prevention. I love that. I love what I do. I love the fact that I was able to take my own experience and build out programming for folks to experience a reentry as I did. I'm a visual learner, so I put together a small, what do you call it, presentation per se, just to give folks just a visual with me so I can walk through it as well. I'm honored to be here, Miss Peg. Thank you for the invite, Tony. I appreciate you. Miss Diana Weston, who I work with closely. I'm also a recipient of the program she spoke to, the Occupational Mentor Certification Program, that actually put me on this trajectory of where I am today. So I'm super grateful. These in-prison programming, they really work. We know that education, we know that uh, workforce and all these different things really contribute to diminishing or making less of recidivism. So I'm just gonna start this. I'm gonna get in this, man, because I'm all coffee and shambles. So let's just go. Right? Let's just do this. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. So I titled this thing The Capacity to Maintain Change. One thing that I recognize is that folks can lose sight of what got them in the position in the first place, earning your freedom. So, as a person with a life sentence, my experience was different for other people. who were going home after 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, even though all the things, the basic needs, were necessary in order to go home and not return. Those things were evident, and necessary. However, being a lifer, there were some things that you had to prove to not only the board, not only yourself, not only the officers around you, that you had somehow really let that lifestyle go and changed. Being a former gang member, being a former gang leader, and changing in a space where everyone's watching you and believe that your change is just not true. So I just kind of wanted to highlight what it looks like to change while I was incarcerated or while we're there, and then go home, man, and maintain that, to not resort back to that former state. So the capacity to change, a brief overview of reentry, right? So I really believe that reentry begins with the goal of never reentering. And what I mean by that is, like, while I was in there, of course, it took my 17 years into my sentence to have this divine intervention. I almost died in there, smuggling drugs, um, trying to live. I have a little brother who's my cellie with 235 years of life. I have another little brother who's right next door. We have no family. We have no support. I feel in my entitlement that I have to, in my criminal behavior and thinking, that I have to smuggle drugs and I have to do all these things to make sure that we're okay. And in the process of that, I almost die. These drugs collided in my system. I ended up in a paralytic state on my right hand side of my body. And that was the moment where, despite the court cases I had, despite all the violence, despite all this crap, it was something about being at my complete rock bottom that made me kind of just say, you know what, I want something else. And I know that I cannot do this on my own. And for the first time in my incarceration, man, I caught on to something much greater than myself. So, reentry that begins with the goal of never re-entering a state of incarceration again is so important. I heard while you all are on breaks and you're in groups, there was a brother on here speaking to the fact that one of his children or something is preparing or going through incarceration. And I just remember I was in juvenile hall when this happened, 1996. I was in juvenile hall waiting to go to prison. And the folks that were doing the same amount of time, double life plus 44 years, these folks that were with me, when they came to juvenile hall, some of them went left, like myself, continuing in the culture of gangs, continuing in the violence. And there was these brothers that just went right, like early on. And I didn't really understand it then until years later, why these men were receptive to these volunteers that came, their parents that came and prayed over them in visiting rooms and talked to them. I didn't understand how they were able to relinquish the culture that was so embedded in us, but they did. And listening to this brother on this call while you all were on break, while we were on break, it made me think about that. Like, being in a space where, when folks are incarcerated, being in a position where you can help people go right, as opposed to left with the homies when they hit the yard, as opposed to the drugs, the alcohol, the lifestyle, the perpetuation of criminal behavior and criminal thinking. How do you get folks immediately to get to a state of rehabilitation? To say that, hey, my reentry starts right now. I messed up. I know that I want to be better. I know I have the capacity and the propensity to do better. I want better for myself, and go right. Bio, psychosocial, and spiritual. I believe these four aspects of life, man, dictate who and what and how we will respond to the state of incarceration, as well as when we're in the community, to maintain that change that we've accomplished. So I put, as uniquely created people, there are four primary specific aspects of our lives that necessitate immediate concern for, care for, tending to, and a host of other descriptions, terms to express the human being, the vital importance of wise people we must create for ourselves. In a nutshell, I had to change everything. I had to change the way that I ate. I recognized eating noodles, eating processed food all day was doing something to my body, high blood pressure. My thinking wasn't right. I wanted to change. I wanted to do different. Let me put off this meat. Let me stop eating these sausages and these chips and these cookies. Let me start putting some tuna in my body, some white rice, some brown rice, some things that I know that give me sustenance. So when I'm out there working out, man, that I have the fuel. When I'm studying in these books, I have the capacity to understand because I'm not just bogged down with all this crap. Psychological, man, how am I feeding my mind? What am I doing? What am I learning? What am I teaching other folks? Am I playing chess or am I playing pinochle all day? Nothing wrong with those things. They're super important, pinochle and cards and stuff for folks to pass time. Am I watching TV all day? What am I feeding myself? And I've slowly began to shift those things. I started watching people who were on this process of change well before me. I started not asking them questions at first, but just really emulating. Why isn't dude sitting in a TV room all day? Why is he in the books? Why is he in college right now? Why does he look different? Why does he smell different than us? We're all got the same clothes, same thing, but he had a joy. They had joy on them because they had changed these things. My social circle, I don't want to go to the bleachers with the Crips no more. I want something different for myself. Here I am dragging the right side of my body for a behavior that ultimately got me in prison in the first place. Let me find some other people. Started going to church and started hearing something other than kill, hurt, harm, murder, take from folks. Started hearing that I'm redeemable, that I'm worthy. Loved it. Church became my ultimate pillar, man, of really helping me navigate the complexities of incarceration and then ultimately in the community. Sorry, I'm rambling. Four aspects of life already talked about these biological, psychological, social, and spiritual. And I'll kind of break these down as we go along because this is the balance. I need these four quadrants of my life to be balanced. 25%, 25% of my biological makeup, 25% of my psychological makeup, social and spiritual, make 100% of George while incarcerated and when I go home. And ultimately, what I want to share with folks, man, is the reality of I'm still living out my relapse prevention plan that I created while I was incarcerated. I'm going to do these things when I go home. 19 years into my sentence, the first time I ever heard that I can go home, I went to this hearing, a consultation hearing, because I was a juvenile sentenced to life. The laws had changed. SB 260 says, hey, you can go home if you do these things. This commissioner sat me down despite all the troubles I had, despite the violence, despite all the stuff. It was the first time someone told me, hey, young man, you can leave here if only you do these things. And she gave me a paper with all these things on it, like a checklist. Get a marketable skill. Stay out of trouble first and foremost. Get higher education. Find a different social circle. Get around people that can help you get to where you want to go. And that thing became like my template to freedom. I would check off boxes. Let me get higher education. Let me get into college. Let me get vocational trades. Ultimately, the occupational mentor OMCP program. Let me get in this. Let me give back to the community and the folks around me. Let me create relapse prevention plan that will keep me sober. I no longer need to self-medicate. I have something else that's pressing and pushing me forward. The impetus for my change is no longer predicated on the crap that's happening in the prison. Man, my God says that I can go home and be better. The people around me are showing me like, hey, dude, you can do something different. The officers, I finally could hear them. If only you invest as much into good as you do in the crap, dude, you'd be great. Freedom starts inside. I kind of already shared a little bit of my journey, and I'm going to get back to that biopsychosocial spiritual, but this was important. Can you guys see these pictures with me?
Yes, we can.
All right, my time's running out too, so let me go. Top left corner. This was my hero sitting in his chair. This is a picture from death row. Growing up as a boy, this man told me 50 push-ups every night equated to manhood. I started working out at 8 years old. Me and my little brother, this one standing right next to me. He doesn't look like me because we have a different dad. But this is my little brother who has 235 to life, and my mom right here in the middle. My mother would come visit us sometimes. I think I've seen her about a handful, 6 times in the 25 years of my incarceration. My little brother is still there now, doing good, on his right track. This is once yoga, man. Once I started changing and letting the culture of gangs go, when I realized, man, I had so much more inside of me than the culture of incarceration and the fellas. And things started changing. I started really mapping out right now, what am I going to do? What are successful people doing? Those that are incarcerated and those that are in the community. So I started mapping out and creating my way, not only out of prison, but what I would do when I get home. I did not come home just to come home. I came home with a purpose and I'm living it out now. Started meeting other people who are doing wonderful things in the community, folks that had ultimately become mentors, like Miss Diana Weston, who's on this call. These folks became mentors in my life. I didn't know how to be free. I came home at 43 years old. What do I do? And at that time, when I came home, February 11, 2021, I didn't really have folks that were just waiting on me. I went to a whole new, I'm from Compton, California, went all the way up here to the Bay Area where I knew nobody. So a lot of the things I had to learn on my own, how to navigate the bus. And ultimately, this is the programs that I would build out, like I talked about the Academy of Hope. I built it out with the mindset of all the roadblocks and hurdles that I experienced. I would make it a purpose to bridge that gap for other people that are coming. Started writing books. I would live vicariously through my writing. Have a good friend, Erline Woods, man. He told me, man, he says, man, just stay out of trouble, bro. I'll get all your books published for you. So I would write, and Erline would publish my books for me through our now a nonprofit called Authors Inside, where we write other books. We teach other people how to write their own books and publish them for free. Just giving back. This is me and my good friend right here, Tomas Martinez, man. Tomas done, some of you know him, 42 years in prison, 26 years in solitary confinement. Tomas is our program manager at the Academy of Hope. He is the epitome of resilience and change, and ultimately what it looks like to maintain the change when you come home. The man is thriving in the community. Just wanted to highlight the brother. Biological components, stabilizing this vessel. I really believe our nutritional intake and physical health is super important. The same things, like I said, when I'm inside, what am I doing home? Am I still eating the same crud? Of course, brother mess with some cookies and chips and every now and then. But the important part is, what does my nutritional intake look like? What am I putting into my body? What am I exerting? How am I working out? Am I still doing those things, those burpees that I was doing madly to keep me healthy in there? Am I still doing them? The answer is yes, right? Because it worked. Why would I go away from what worked, right? And I know the time is running, so I'll kind of just run through these things. Staying away from substance uses, criminal behavior, irrational thinking, unmanageable feelings, and the things that I don't understand, man. I've been reaching out for help since I've been home. Please, somebody help me. This is all new. I love this statement right here. You cannot build a life if your body is in chaos. Reentry shocks the system. We're coming home shocked by everything around us, feeling judged, like I heard in the sister's video a moment ago, feeling like the tattoos put a label on my head. I do something when the fellas come home. I give some of these brothers like 40 bucks and we're in the store and I have them buy everything for us. Here, take this cash, go to the register and buy this, right? Kind of walk them through it. And what it does, it lets them know no one knows you just came home. Only thing they're thinking about right now is the money in your hand. They don't care where you just came from unless you tell them, right? So biological, psychological, of course, mental health and teaching and learning ability, man. Your ability to still learn, your ability to teach others, removing that stinking thinking, man. We already know that stuff. Cognitive behavioral skills, delaying gratification. Folks are coming home and getting comfortable, right? Like getting comfortable with the things you hadn't had, the cell phone glued to your face, social media, and really encouraging folks to just stay focused. Let's get these things done. One of the biggest triggers that I've experienced and I share with other folks, man, about re-entering into the community, the biggest trigger of everything is when I was no longer on parole. There was no longer anyone to tell me I could and could not. And that's when I had to double time. Let's get double time. This update, this relapse prevention. There's some new things happening here. Social component, cultural, community and cultural interactions, man. Who am I with every day? What does that look like? I love the fact that as a business owner, not only as a director at Options, but as a business owner in this program that I created while I was incarcerated, Grow, man, I'm going into the juvenile halls. I'm contracted in Alameda County, Marin County, and I've been that way since I've been home. It keeps you accountable, man. You're meeting new people, you're socializing. The sisters put their email address and phone numbers in the chat. Like I have to hold on to that. This is my community of healing and folks that are doing the same work. Family reunification, family relations. How am I dealing with those folks? Those that I feel abandoned me, those that I feel that left me, all these different things. Just staying true to that stuff. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Spiritual component. This is the baseline for George. For some folks, they don't, believe in, traditionally in God and things like that. And that's okay. For some folks, their ultimate self, their higher self is theirs, and understanding that I know for a fact that while in a voluntary state of dysfunction, it is impossible to function with a higher spirit or a higher power. So really staying on track, man, so I can stay committed and glued to my God, man. Being of service at church, that's what helps me, man, maintain my reentry, maintain everything. Giving back to folks, like it's so important to give back to people, man. Like this is what they talk about in NA and AA, man. You giving back, you keep it by giving it back. I love that. Roadblocks to avoid. Immediate gratification. Wanting everything now leads to shortcuts, and shortcuts lead back to prison. Period. See it all the time. Isolation, trying to do it alone. Lone wolves starve in the wilderness, and it's so true. Like you really need, just like I was inside when I didn't have it all together, when I was trying and I was slipping. It was the brothers in the church. It was the brothers in my self-help community. It was my brothers in OMCP. Hey, George, come here. Do you know what's on that side? Let's go. Let's go over here, brother. You don't need that, right? In isolation, that's when I would sneak and smoke a joint, smoke, drink, whatever the case may be, because there was no one there and I'm just hiding, But folks recognizing the behavior and coming to get you. Old playgrounds, returning to the same people. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram for a reason. When I came home, it opened me up to the old community of former gang members who were like, man, he's home, dot, dot, dot. Man, so cutting that out was huge. And sometimes I just have LinkedIn. It's a professional site, right? I don't go back to my old neighborhood. I moved to the Bay Area as opposed to going back to Compton. Halts. Love this as a tool, man. Getting hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or sick, man. I make sure I stay on top of that. I don't want to be too hungry. I don't want to be angry. I don't make decisions when I'm lonely, tired, or sick, right? I avoid those things. Um, the tools that work, proven strategy, CBT, love it. Keep doing the very things that got you where you are. Period, man. Motivational interviewing. Find your own internal motivation for change and keeping it. Credible messengers, mentors. I have so many different mentors, all the way in Baltimore, all the way here. Like I just have people in my lives for different things that I really need help with. Um, really helping me in that capacity, man. And just to know if you're still on track, like, and how do you know it? Right? How does George know that I'm not wavering? And I look at my life and I see that I have steady employment. I see that I'm continually growing as a man of faith, as a Christian. Man, I used to struggle with, was my change true, or was it based in the fact that I just wanted to go home, or that I wanted to get this bigger promotion or whatever? But man, the Bible told me, man, very distinctively, it says, man, Christ says, man, you would know me, you would know my disciples by their works, right? And I started looking at my work and I really understood, like, yeah, this was not for show. All right. And that's it. Reentry is not just about staying out of prison, right? It's about getting into life. I thank you all. I'm sorry for my rambling. Got a little excited with you all.
We're
And I'm
not
really
sorry about
grateful.
anything, okay? We're not sorry about anything. So
I'm really
you
grateful to
don't
be
have to
with
be
you.
sorry either, okay? It was
Absolutely.
wonderful to listen to you, George.
Thank you.
Two things. One I saw on your slide that was just remarkable. You said the prison mentality is about survival,
Yes,
and
sir.
the reentry mentality is about growth. I thought that
Yes,
was
sir.
really, really key.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
very good. Very good. So, George, you walk the talk. That's what's great about listening to you, right? You've got so much to offer because you're so living it.
Thank you, David.
You're not talking theory. You're talking, it's your life. You're living it, and therefore you can share it from your life experience. It's so powerful, George.
Yes, sir. Thank you. There's one thing that I wish folks that are incarcerated can see how many people are out here advocating on their behalf, to see
Hmm.
this screen of folks showing up for them, to support them, to love on them. That's what's needed, man. So super grateful to be here in this space with you all. That's all.
Great.
Thank you, David.
Beautiful. And tell me, uh, you said, I think another thing on your slide said maintenance is not a destination, it's a daily practice. Is that how you said it?
Yes, sir. And
Say say that in your own words, okay? Or say that, just say another sentence about that, okay?
well, it is, right? Like, so we get to a destination, we get to a point, and there's something that we have to do to continue in it. Folks just believe they arrived. I'm home, I've arrived. But there's a maintaining. It's not like at the end of the street, I'm gonna end up there and then that's it. I made it home and that's all. Like, man, I made it to that destination, and there's something that I must do in order to stay in that spot
Hmm.
or grow outside of it and go do some other
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
Daily things, the same things, the prayer, the support network, the work, the education, the crying out for help. Man, I need help. I don't get this, right? There are some things that must happen, or stagnation oftentimes resort to recidivism. And even if you don't go back to jail, there's an emotional turmoil. There's a spiritual. There's all kind of things that take place. Health, real brief, man. When I came home, I've never had a cavity, let alone never been sick in my life. And suddenly, man, I have this thing called atrial fibrillation where my heart's beating out of whack,
Okay.
caffeine and all this stuff. And the
Hmm.
sister on this call, Miss Diana Weston, she told me, she says, what happens, George, I believe your body no longer had to be in survival mode. It's
Hmm.
the first time it was able to relax. And
Hmm.
as a result, these different things are taking place,
Hmm.
right? And I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, I
Yeah.
just love that because it makes sense to me, you
Great,
know?
George. Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Thank you, David.
No, don't be sorry about nothing. It's wonderful to listen to you. And again, thank you for
Yes, sir.
living it so powerfully that you can share about it so powerfully.
Thank you so
Great
much.
for you.